Welcome home, family and fellow citizens of the African Order. I'm here with another video, and the topic of this discussion is a distinguished people. A distinguished people is something that you can look at when you have all people in the world. You can look at different groups of them, and there's something unique about them that separates them from all other people. And this is vital when you want to have a collective, cohesive society. Everybody having the same similar thoughts and beliefs, all living in the same community. But when you live in the same community and don't have the same thoughts and beliefs, you have what blacks have today, a era or culture of mistrust, unforgiveness, a lack of love, no unity, no structure. Well, basically slaves. I cannot see myself or see my people um, continuing along this path. There's got to be something that not only I can see, but as a whole, we all should be able to see and look upon this whatever and turn to each other and say, there's got to be a better way than this. This cannot be um, the only way we go through this thing called life. You know, and why is this message important today? Why is it? Why am I bringing this out now? Well, the reason why I'm bringing this message out now is for two reasons. In recent events that just occurred, um, one was the insurrection that happened at the Capitol building, where you had colonizers trying to overthrow their own government. Now, when black people are unhappy with the way the country is going, they tell us, well, you can always leave. Just just leave. But when white people aren't happy, you see what they did. If it was so easy for us to leave, how come they just didn't gather their belongings and just go? And so you did all this and accomplished what? Nothing. Donald Trump is out of office. Joe Biden is in office. Everything that y'all believed that wasn't going to happen did happen. And then on top of that, you have Lindsey Graham, who come out and said that he doesn't want to have an investigation into what happened. During 9/11, they had a 9/11 commission to find out how this all took place, who knew what and when, and how can we prevent this from ever happening again. Lindsey Graham said in his own words, you're going to open a Pandora's box. And when I heard him say that, I'm like, bruh, I got to have an investigation now. If you're going to attach an investigation into an insurrection on your own governing body to open in Pandora's box, now I got to have an investigation. And for those of you who do not know, Pandora's box is like a Greek mythology when Pandora opened up her box and released all the trouble in the world. So, Lindsey Graham, you're going to use that analogy as to the investigation on the insurrection because you know how corrupt this government is. You know how rotten to the core it is. And if the people knew the truth, because see, as long as the people don't know and they believe this little facade that y'all are putting in front of them, see, this is just to protect your job. You know, this is I think about the episode of Martin where Pam and Gina wanted to join the women's group, and it was a sophisticated group of ladies. And Shanae showed up, who was unsophisticated. And during the process, Shanae recognized one of the women's name and associated with a customer that frequents her store. So when she asked the lady, was this her husband? And she said, yes. And she was like, girl, I know your husband. He come in my shop all the time. Bring his niece. And she was like, he has no niece. And her girlfriend, Shanae, girlfriend was like, you see, girl, I told you don't no man be bringing no niece up here like that. So the wife got upset and left out of there, going home to confront her husband. Then other women in the group started coming to Shanae, asking them if they knew their husband. And Shanae, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him. Oh, yeah, I know that guy. If Lindsey Graham was a woman, and in a way he kind of is, he'd have been the only woman in that group not approach Shanae inquiring about her husband's whereabouts. Because Lindsey Graham is comfortable in his position. As long as I don't know, I'm not gonna rock the boat. I'm not gonna dig into this. I'm just gonna just keep on living my life, and that's fine if you only have you to consider. But when you're an elected official, you have responsibility to the people who put you in office, and even if it means sacrificing your job, you have to tell the people the truth. To deny an investigation, to say to the 8 people who died associated with this insurrection, and say, let's just forget it, sweep it under the rug, and move on. You cannot do that. You just can't do that. And the people of South Carolina doesn't deserve a representative that would do that. So Lindsey Graham, if you can't own the responsibility of your position, then just let it go, bruh. You don't deserve to be there. And the second thing that makes this message so important today is the freeze that happened in Texas. Now, here you have Senator Ted Cruz. When all of Texas is freezing, pipes are bursting. Damage is not on the citywide area. This is a statewide catastrophe. And where's your representative? He gathered his family up and went to Cancun. And that's a tough call. And I'm not trying to be harsh on Ted Cruz. I'm really not. When you have your family there and they're freezing, and you're an elected official, but you allow special interest groups to come in and pay you 5 times more than the people who elected you, then I wouldn't give a F about the people either. I would gather my family up and I would leave out of there also. Because see, you're not obligated to the people now. You're obligated to the special interest groups that pay you the money that the people who elected you can't afford to pay you. So you leave while the people are suffering. Then you come back early saying you didn't think about it until after you had left. You ain't never thought about it at all. And that's just the surface story. The underlying, when you get to the dirt, is attached to this Jerry Jones. He's a big oil and gas man down in Texas. Originally, he's from Arkansas. And during this freeze, he in big investment in the gas and oil companies there. And now The normal temperature in Texas this time of year is like 65 degrees. But doing this, they have some below zero temperatures, 30, 20 degrees, pipes bursting all over the place, homes being destroyed all over. And now the same company that Jerry Jones has invested in, a billionaire, they're going to jack the prices up. Now, gas normally goes at like $2.49 per cubic foot. They raised the price because they're able to establish a premium cost now. Because there's not a soul in Texas that's not going to have their gas on. They raised the price to almost $180 per cubic foot. This is, when I heard that, it almost brought tears to my eyes. And Joe Biden, you have not stepped up and said anything about this. There's no way on earth, even if you want to politicize this situation, you should have stepped in right there and said, ain't not one person in Texas going to pay that blood money. And so no matter how high you jack up the prices, whatever you paid for gas last year at this time, you're going to pay for it this year. You know, and see, then this is the incomplete thinking that a lot of these politicians have. They'll focus on one thing but deny the other. Now, Joe Biden, you keep talking about you want to have a $15 an hour minimum wage. Well, tell me this then. What is making $15 an hour going to do when you have business owners who can affect people on the statewide level, when they can jack up the cost of their essential needs 90%? 90%. It was reported that one of the people in Texas had a almost $18,000 light bill. I wouldn't care if he was getting paid $30 an hour. There's no way on earth he's going to be able to pay that bill. And these same corrupt business people are the same people that you take their tax dollars and you give them our money to build football stadiums, baseball stadiums, hockey arenas, basketball stadiums, to create jobs, businesses, and industries that makes them millionaires and billionaires many times over. And then they turn around and do this to the same people that pay the salary of the government. But you don't hear anything about that. But you keep talking about a $15 an hour minimum wage, but not a word about the unlimited income or unlimited escalation of essential needs, the costs that they can put on people at any given time. So you cannot have a minimum wage of $15 an hour in the same system where you have people making unlimited amounts of money, unlimited control. There's nothing they could have raised that thing 100, 200 times what the people cost, and then hold you to it. And then as soon as the people aren't able to pay the bill or have to leave out their home, these same business owners will then come in and buy the land of the people, making more businesses and industries, and increasing and expanding their reach to touch more people. When is this nonsense going to stop? When is some black leader going to step in and say anything? And Jerry Jones, you should not be able to walk the street after doing something like this. And there shouldn't be a black football player on your team suit up and play for your organization. And every black football player that take that stance, black people need to funnel their money so they can open up their own businesses and industries, so they'll never have to worry about going to work for anybody else. You know, and the funny part is, when I say funny, it's just sad. Is these millionaires and billionaires, they will go to the government and say, "We'll create the jobs." Then they give the millionaires and billionaires our money so they can provide all the jobs for the people. Then in return, they pay them slave wages. And then as soon as an incident arises, a catastrophe, a pandemic, whatever, they'll deviate faster than COVID-19 to go from caring, concerned millionaires and billionaires wanting to provide jobs. Then they turn right around and attack the same people by escalating the cost of living, further jeopardizing um, the way people live. Where are you, Joe Biden? Why haven't you came in and established a cap, a freeze on all costs of essential services during a hurricane, storm, tornado, pandemic, so people won't take advantage of people like we cannot continue doing this. This is 2021, and we cannot continue to have business owners keep coming. Because see, this behavior here. This is not a symptom of capitalism. This is the root cause of it. And when you have businesses and industries in the hands of these heartless lichens, they can turn a dial up or down on any society, creating social distress so they can justify raising the cost of essential needs. And how do we protect ourselves from these monsters? Do you ask them kindly not to do that? Do you think they'll stop? You know, I was watching this movie called Impact. Well, a meteor was coming. It's going to hit the Earth and wipe out society all over the planet. And the media found out about it. They was about to tell the story, but Morgan Freeman convinced the reporter to hold off on a minute before so he can make an announcement to the world. So when he did that, he had told the people, yes, it's an asteroid coming. And he said, but don't worry. He said there will be no hoarding, and there will be no price gouging. What you paid for a gallon of milk last week is what you're going to pay this week. You know. And I sat there and I said it was good to see a black man in that position. And I'm saying to myself today, I should not have to pay admission, buy a bucket of popcorn in order to be in the presence of a governing body to actually give a F about the people, that actually stand up to business owners to help ease the comfort or ease the mind of the people that put him in that position. How this situation here is going on, and there's no screaming for at least a third party to put pressure on this Republican and Democratic BS. And if you don't want to do that, you should at least be trying to establish an alternative economic structure so that when something do happen and they do jack up the prices, you have somewhere else you can go. If we don't do that, there's nowhere else we can go. As long as we keep going on the path that's laid before us. So Joe Biden, if you really want to give blacks the economic empowerment that you said, you want to close the wealth gap between blacks and whites, Nobody's going to pay you that. They're only going to come through owning and controlling your own essential needs, your own businesses and industries. No other white person on the planet is going to put one of their essential needs in the hands of somebody black, giving them a job in order to obtain it. Not one, but in return, we have all our social eggs in one capitalist basket, and we don't even get to hold a handle. They could drop it at any time they want. And there isn't a Farrakhan, there isn't a Al Sharpton, a Jesse Jackson, NAACP, or these clowns up in Washington, the Black Caucus or whoever they supposed to be. I don't even know what they do up there. None of them is telling you that today. You know, and like I say, these millionaire, billionaire, heartless monsters, they will put nothing in front of them gaining profit. They'll believe lies. They'll argue science. You show them a death toll or what's going on, they'll deny. If it means putting less money in their pocket, I remember I'm watching when Barack Obama was in office, and they were talking about climate control. And they had a senator, well, I forget what his name was, but he came to the congressional floor and he had a snowball in his hand. And he was like, "Do you know what this is? This is a snowball. You know where I found it at? Right outside the door." So when you talk about global warming, how do you justify this? And I said to myself, oh my God, this mother effer ain't got a clue as, as to what global warming actually means. Global warming is what's going on in the weather today. That's in your area. When you talk about global warming as a whole, it's when you talk about climate, that changes. That's everything. That's all over the world. When you have the South getting colder and the North getting warmer, that's climate change, bro. That's not just weather. And for this idiot, so until you go outside and you don't find no snowball, then you'll believe global warming exists. But why do we have to always wait until white people understand before we act on it? Do you know how much damage is going to occur before white people? They don't even understand Black Lives Matter. As soon as they hear it, they want to create a problem because of that. What do you care what an organization call themselves? You're not even black. You know, we have got to change our mindset because they're not going to change. Like I said, they will argue anything to keep them putting money in their pocket. And this is the same mentality. This is why the United States is 5% of the global population, but have 20% of the COVID deaths because you have a president for 4 years in private being told how dangerous the COVID is, and he understood it perfectly. They had the audio tape to prove it. But as soon as he come out to the people He's calling COVID a hoax. This is why, and then speaking of COVID, here now they got Johnson and Johnson coming in with their version of a vaccine, and these fools can't even make baby powder. I'm looking at the news the other day. They got commercials. If you use Johnson baby powder back in the day, and you got cervical cancer, call and claim your portion of it. And I'm sitting up here like, how are these guys making COVID vaccines? They can't even make baby powder. But I'm not even. Let's leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that. I asked before why was this message important today, and this is why. So we can filter our society, because before we can move forward as a people, we have to be of the same mindset, or generally the same mindset. Because see, right now you will have people looking at what Jerry Jones is doing, and being cowardly, and say, well, you don't have to turn on your gas. Or you will look at Jerry Jones and admire his businessman mentality. You will look at him with envy and wish that you had invested in the oil and gas, taking advantage of the people. Then you be your own worst enemy. So if we ever come back to our right mind and see somebody envying this type of behavior, see somebody willing to profit off of the suffering and death of somebody else, these are things that's not going to be consistent to the majority of our people. And we're able to get them out of our group, because there's been too many times in the last week or so that I've heard people say, well, it's always us. We are our own worst enemy. We always doing this to each other. Well, the reason why we do this to each other is because we have not did the things or took the necessary steps to distinguish ourselves from others. When you group all black people, regardless of their ideology, into one group, you're gonna always pick people to trust that's not trustworthy. You're gonna always um, fall in love with somebody that's not worthy of you. Until you filter your society where you can agree on a social code of moral and ethics, things that you have to believe to be included in this group, and things that you have to stand on to evict people out of the group if they do anything that contradict our belief. This is why I want to create us a new constitution, because the constitution that was built for this country was established while we were slaves, and it says right there that none of the benefits of this constitution was ever meant for the slaves or the descendants of slaves. So it didn't matter how long blacks be in this country. They never intended the Constitution to benefit us. All the protections and provisions that it speak on was never intended for black people. And yet you fools still going out here going to war for it. Let's gather our people. Let's rally ourselves around the Constitution that we can all believe in. That was designed specifically for us. And I am in the midst of forming it myself. And in the beginning, I see my people being a people that love themselves more than all people on the planet. No one loves and trusts and care for us and protect us like our own. As soon as we adopt these new principles, then we can fix the black woman. And the first recipient of that repair will be the black man. And then when we fix the black man, the first recipient of that will be the black woman. And when you sit back and look at a repaired and restored black man and black woman, then you have just fixed the black people. This is the beginning of our new Constitution. And also, I'm going to put in it a redivision or a redefining of red, black, and green. Red is the blood that's associated with the covenant that God gave to Abraham throughout his generations, his generational covenant. A covenant that God ordained and mandated us to keep to ourselves, not to share our seed with any other race. The black is the color of God, the color of Jesus Christ, all the angels, and his most beloved people, which is us. The green will represent the land that God himself said we will have dominion over. And wherever we are, he will be there with us. And I'm going to give you the biblical receipts so that not only you can read it for yourself, but just give verse and scripture to whoever doubt what you say so they can read it in their own Bible. And just because you can believe what you read, see, white people, they don't believe what they can read. They read the Bible, seeing that everybody was black, didn't want to believe it, so they changed everybody to white. We don't have to do that. We can read it the way it was written, and we can accept it for who it was intended for. These white devils will never be able to do that. So, but let me say this before I end this video. Let me be clear. This new found constitution for our people. I'm not telling you this for you to walk around believing that you're better than everybody else. I'm not doing that. I'm telling you this because I want you to walk around with the presence knowing that God feels that you're better than everybody else. And as I said before, I will give you chapter and verse where you can find the biblical receipt yourself. So I'm going to end this video here. And if you like this message, please share it. If you want to hear more of this content, subscribe to the channel. And with this video, as with all my videos, it is for the complete liberation of my people. And I'll see you in my next message. Ashe.